Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli back with another review video, and for this one, I'm going to be reviewing another one of my all-time favorite Disney animated films. Now, of course, as you know, number 1 being The Great Mouse Detective, number 2, Nightmare Before Christmas, number 3, Robin Hood, number 4, Zootopia, number 5, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, number 6, The Lion King, number 7, Beauty and the Beast, number 8, The Jungle Book, number 9, The Little Mermaid, number 10, Wreck-It Ralph, and now for number 11, it's The Emperor's New Groove. Yes, The Emperor's New Groove. What can you say about The Emperor's New Groove? I love it, it's really good. Yeah, everything about it was fantastic. Here's another thing, because, it went through, at first, because when it was being developed and in the works, it didn't turn out how it was as we know it. Of course, David Spade was still part of it, but also Owen Wilson was to be part of it. They were supposed to play brothers. Kuzco had a different name. There were a few henchmen and such with Yzma, and there were a lot more than just one song from Sting, But that's when everything changed, I guess, I think with, I forget who it was. I think maybe Thomas Schumacher or Roy Disney, I guess, didn't like it. Or I really can't remember. And they got rid of all the Sting songs except for one that's in, as we know in the film. Got rid of Wilson and changed the entire story. They of course kept David Spade, and it came out as we know today. So, yeah, The Emperor's New Groove. The opening is kind of interesting. It kind of has a bit of a dramatic or sad music or something to it, and even because it opens with Kuzco already being a llama, that is, and of course Kuzco being the narrator and such. And I didn't realize until now, I guess Kuzco was the Deadpool and such of that film. Don't you think? I think it's pretty obvious. So. Because I noticed something on Facebook, but anyways, of course, the opening credits and, not really the opening credits, there's not really, it's just, Walt Disney Pictures presents The Emperor's New Groove, and that's it. Of course, we get that cool song, Tom Jones sings, this perfect world of the, what's his name, Kuzco? That's a really good song, and Tom Jones singing it, of course. That's freaking Tom Jones, And that part where Kuzco runs into an old guy, one of the villagers, and oh, you threw off my groove, and one of the guards, I'm sorry, but you've thrown off the Emperor's groove, throws him out of the window. God, it's hilarious. Of course, some of the other characters, we see Pacha, Yzma, and Kronk. Everybody loves Yzma and Kronk. Of course, Kuzco fires Yzma, Pacha comes in, and, Kuzco's gonna, tear down the village and such where he lives, put in, his own paradise and such, and, of course, Yzma plans to kill Kuzco, and that hilarious scene, pull the lever, Kronk, and, to make their way to the lab and such. They go through a ride, make their way into the lab, and, then, of course, she plans to turn him into a flea, put that flea in a box, put that box inside another box, etc. Mail that box to herself, and then I'll smash it with a hammer. It's brilliant, genius, I say. And or to save on postage, I'll just poison him with this. She knocked over a glass of the potion, I guess, and so. It's dinner time, and then, of course, Kronk, being Kronk, he fixed dinner and such, and, of course, not the dinner, all right, the poison for Kuzco, the poison to give to Kuzco. I could do a decent Kronk impression, even if you guys could tell. Of course, Kuzco comes in, and Yzma tells Kronk, pour the drink in, that is the poison, oh, right, at 1 point, because, Yeah, because right before he gives him the drink, like, is something burning? My spinach pups runs out, and then Kronk can't remember which cup is which, and so he just basically pours mostly in, like, mixes it up, I guess, and pours it in, and, even that part, like, tells Yzma, and, like, Kuzco, of course, drinks it. Yzma, she just pours in, like, some plant or something, and how Kronk drinks it, he just, like, does this, just pours down, as you can see. It's funny. Of course, at first you think Cusco's dead, it killed him, but of course his head smashes on the table, and then he gets up, talks, and then one at a time he transforms into a llama, and that's when like Yzma has Kronk take him out of the town and finish the job, and he throws him into like the stream, like water, river and such. Mission accomplished. He almost about walks away like, and sees there's a waterfall, and then the Shoulder Angel and Devil Angel and Shoulder Angel and Shoulder Devil show up, as to hear, and they're they get some laughs and such. Kronk saves Kuzco, but is trying to figure out how else to get rid of him. He accidentally steps on a cat. It lands in Pacha's wagon, so on. And of course, Pacha returning to the village, and then, like, we see his kids and his wife. And actually, if I remember correctly, The Emperor's New Groove was, in fact, the first Disney film where a woman is pregnant. Yeah, but I'm trying to remember correctly. I'm pretty sure with Lady and the Tramp. With Lady and the Tramp, I can't remember, though, but I don't think it was really established. Like, Mrs. Darling, yeah, that's it, I think, yeah. Was it, what did she call Mrs. Darling? I kind of like Jim Deere, and I can't remember, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, she was pregnant. I don't think there was really we don't really see her be pregnant or anything. I mean, it was established. I mean, it's established, like, in that montage and with the months, like, expecting the baby and such, and yet she gives birth to it, and the father runs up, it's a boy. But I just thought I'd throw that out. But no, I'm pretty sure, like, if I remember correctly, and as I read, The Emperor's New Groove is the first Disney film with showing a woman being pregnant and Pacha's wife. So, yeah. So I just thought I'd throw that out, so but anyway, so of course, Pacha, of course, discovers Kuzco in a bag and such, and like Kuzco thinks Pacha, because of him being mad at him, like he turned him into a llama, and like, why would I kidnap a llama? Like, you're the criminal mastermind, etc. And of course, Kuzco goes off into the jungle at night and such. Pacha's trying to warn him, and like, Kuzco, la 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 la, I'm not listening. Funny. And of course, Kuzco stumbles upon the squirrel, and that later on, Pacha, we'll get to that later. Kuzco stumbles upon panthers, the squirrel, like, at first you think the squirrel's gonna wake them up because of a balloon and, like, has something pointy to pop it. It doesn't work, but of course when Kuzco goes, ha! It does wake up the leopards, or panthers. I mean, they're black, so, they should be panthers. But them chasing him, and right as he's up at a cliff, at the edge, of a cliff, and, like, Pacha comes in to rescue him, and then they get caught in a branch and such, and then they go falling down to the river, and, like, that hilarious part, don't tell me, we're about to go down a huge waterfall. Yep. And sharp rocks on the bottom, etc. However he said, most likely, bring it on, They go down, booyah! So, like, Kuzco's kind of knocked out and such. Pacha saves him from drowning, and they get up to shore and a beach, I guess. And, like, Pacha gives Kuzco the mouth to mouth thing, it's funny. And and so back at the palace, like Yzma and Kronk, they have like a little bit of a funeral, but now, of course, Yzma's like, okay, well, ain't getting dinner, back to work, everybody's serving Yzma, etc. And Kronk kind of slips it out that Kuzco's still alive, and like, Yzma, if he talks, we're through, now let's move. And the cut back to Pacha's kids, like, his son like had a dream and such. So basically, what actually happened, you know. Of course, cut back to the next day. Pacha and Cusco, they make a deal. They shake hands, like, you know, make their way back to the palace, and like I guess not to do not and spare the village. I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly. And of course, that sequence with the bridge, you know, breaks apart, and like Cusco at first leaves Pacha and such, but then like, you know, like, I guess lied to him, you know, and then of course Cusco, he falls down. Excuse me. And yeah, and like they have a little fight session. That's when they make things worse by the bridge completely destroying. They almost fall into the river of water of crocodiles or alligators. I'm pretty sure crocodiles, yeah. And then that's when they like work together, like climb up and such, you know, that kind of thing. And as we see in the movie, Pacha grabs on a branch and such, I guess a rope from that was connected to the bridge, etc. And the scorpions and bats, hilarious. And yeah, and like because they make their way back on top, like part of the ground, gravel and ground, like crumbles, and like Pacha is about to fall with it, and yet Cusco grabs him, like, you know, Cusco's like, and like Pacha, that look on his face, like, you just saved my life, and like, you know, that's funny. And also cutting back to Yzma and Kronk searching for Cusco, and that part where Yzma is struggling in the jungle and such. I think these like swarm of bees or something like chase her, and yet Kronk spots a bird, and then of course they come across the squirrel again, and yeah, and Kronk can speak squirrel, and yet he was, you know, part of the junior chipmunk kind of thing, you know, and like Kronk going, squeak, squeak, squeaky, squeaky, you know. Squirrel tells them the direction of where they went, etc. And of course, cut back to Pacha and Cusco. They make their way into a restaurant, and there's a sign, "No llamas allowed." But of course, they look at each other, the grin on their faces, the smile, and of course, Cusco disguised, you know, as a girl and such, like Pacha's wife or something. It's funny. And of course, Yzma and Kronk making their way into the restaurant. And yeah, even like Kronk at one point, you know, he becomes the chef after the original chef quits. It's funny, and like Cusco and Yzma one at a time giving their order and such, and yeah, and even like one point, like, yeah, Pacha asks what's her face, like, I don't know, like, we don't hear what he says, but, you know, it's like, but she's like, don't worry, honey, we do that all the time. And I think well, you don't hear what he says, but of course we find out because, you know, I guess you know, it distracts Yzma and for Pacha and Cusco to get out of the way, you know, happy birthday, and Kronk comes out, hey, it's your birthday. And Pacha tells Cusco about Yzma and Kronk, that they want to kill him and such. Cusco doesn't believe him and thinks Pacha still doesn't want to take him back to the palace. Cusco walks off. He sees Yzma and Kronk, and he thinks that maybe they can help him or something. But of course, he finds out that Yzma's trying to kill him, etc. And that's when Cusco goes back to where Pacha was. But of course, Pacha's gone and such. Now Cusco's all alone. But of course, later on, he finds Pacha again. They make their way back to Pacha's village, etc. Get help from his kids and his wife. Yzma and Kronk beat them there. And like Yzma pretending to be a relative of Pacha's, you know. And of course, you know, Pacha explains to his wife, etc. And of course, as Pacha and Cusco, as they're on their way back to the palace, and yeah, I forget the name of Pacha's wife, but you know, one of those times. But Pacha's wife and his kids, they help, and they keep Yzma and Kronk, you know, not from catching up to them, etc. And that hilarious thing where like they open the door, like she opens the door, and like they wax the floor, she slips. heads outside and like gets into a wagon and like honey and like feathers and such, and she lands into like a rope and such, and as a pinata. It's funny, and that cool sequence, that cool scene, and with the music, that montage of them running and such, and you see them on the map running, and at one point, of course, because of a cliff and such, like Pacha, shoots an arrow, and they slide, make their way to the other side, and Kronk and Yzma, like a hang glider or something, whatever it is, and of course they get hit by lightning. That's funny, and they make their way to the palace, and make their way into the secret lab, like how Yzma and Kronk do, and of course the potions, and a little nod to the Wizard of Oz, lions, tigers, bears, and yet Yzma says, "Oh my," and then looking for this, and like, how'd you get back before us? I'm like, how did we get back, Kronk? Well, he got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make any sense. It's funny, and also like. Yeah, Yzma, like, pulls from her skirt, like, I don't think you were expecting this, like, oh no, and, like, pulls out the knife and is like, oh, okay. I'm trying to remember the joke specifically, but, it's funny. And then, of course, hands the knife to Kronk, and then, like, Kronk, like, his shoulder and devil angel appeared and such. And then, of course, like, Yzma says, a really, really big, stupid monkey named Kronk, and you want to know something else? I never liked your spinach puffs. Never. And, like, that's it. She's going down. Like, they look, like, the shoulder injured. Now, remember, fellas, from above, blah, 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 blah. Look at the candles, and etc. And, like, that'll work. He cuts the knife and such, and it goes landing straight onto Yzma. And, like, of course, I guess, Kronk is on Pacha and Kuzco's side. I think it's pretty obvious. And then, of course, Yzma pulls one of the potion bottles, and it's a hatch, sends Kronk to somewhere. I don't know exactly. And of course, a little fight between Pacha, Pacha, Kuzco, and Yzma. It's kind of, I think, I've kind of, throughout, doing this, it's been a bit difficult for me trying to say their names, especially because Kronk and Kuzco start with a K. You get what I'm saying? Well, anyways, and of course, she knocks over a shelf of potions, and like, clumsy me, which one? Sets off an alarm. Better hurry. I'm expecting company. Kill them, they murder the Emperor. They come out and such, and like, Pacha tips over another shelf of potions. They go flying at the guards. They all turn to animals, from cow, octopus, gorilla, warthog, ostrich, lizard, etc. And yet the one that's turned into a cow is like, "Hey, I've been turned into a cow. Can I go home?" And you're excused. Anyone else? And they're like, no, we're fine. Well, get them. And so the chase and such of them, and then one by one, like, Kuzco takes the potions. He first turns into a turtle, into a bird, and that part with the bird, like, yeah, we're flying, and he's a tiny bird and such. And then he turns into a whale, and then he turns back into a llama. Yay, I'm a llama again. And wait, it's funny. And the drain is, and they drain out the water, and then of course, the guards, like, come on, man, nobody lives forever, yeah! And they slip down such, they go falling and such, and I think the one that's the octopus screams kind of like a girl and such. I think that's the one, so, and then Yzma goes after them herself, and then she turns into a cat, of course, and obviously, it could be pretty obvious, could be a nod, I think it's obvious it's a nod to, because of Eartha Kitt, she played Catwoman in the 60s Batman show. It could be, I think it's pretty obvious, She played a cat, and yet she's playing another villain. She's played two villains that have to do something with a cat, She played Catwoman, and now she's voicing Yzma, who turns into a cat. So, and then, of course, like, Yzma trying to open the bottle, and then the bottle goes falling and such. She goes after it. She falls. Then Cusco helps like, he has a choice, like, either get the bottle or Pacha, who's slipping and such. Of course, he saves Pacha. Yeah, and the vial, the potion bottle, however you want to call it, goes falling and such. Is Yzma still falling? You know, she lands on a trampoline, because another funny moment, you know, for the last time, we did not order a giant trampoline. You know, pal, you could have told me before I set it up. She lands on the trampoline, goes going up into the air, grabs the vial slash potion bottle, you know, as I said, hits the rooftop and such, I guess, the outside of the palace, and the vial's there, and like Pacha looks at Cusco. You think what I'm thinking, like they did, you know, when they were almost about to get eaten by the crocodiles, you know. I forget the term for it, but you know what I'm talking about. But Yzma, of course, grabs it, and you know, I win. Out of nowhere, Kronk comes out, hits Yzma with like I don't know what the word is, but you know. And of course, Cusco takes it, and well, see you on the other side. He drinks it, boom, turns back to the human. We cut to, you know, I guess maybe a day later or so, and he's apologizing to What's-His-Face, who he threw out of the window, and who's actually voiced by What's-His-Face, the original voice of Piglet, which is really cool, so. Anyways, and so he talks with Pacha, and I think, like, Cusco reconsiders on, I guess, Cusco Paradise or something like that. And of course, he kind of lives there now, like he has his own hut and such at the village, you know. Another rendition of this perfect world, blah 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 blah. And of course, one last scene of the film, which is funny. Junior Chipmunk Club, you know, Kronk and such, you know, did you take my acorn? Squeak, squeak, squeak. And we see Yzma, she's part of that too, you know, squeaking. And Kronk giving the last line of the film, I'm so proud of you guys. And of course, I think, yeah, it shows the words, the end, and boom, the movie ends, the credits roll, and that really good song by Sting, My Friend the Llama, or I think that's how it's titled, I don't know. But anyways, so The Emperor's New Groove, it's a really good Disney animated film. I'm pretty sure it was one of those Disney animated films that I guess got mixed, I'm pretty sure. But I think overall it did pretty good, you know. And for The Emperor's New Groove, I give it, well, 10 out of 10 stars, because it's good, it's fantastic, I love it, and you guys let me know what you think of The Emperor's New Groove, because for me, I enjoyed it. It's really good. So again, 10 out of 10 stars for The Emperor's New Groove. I hope you guys enjoyed this review video. More new review videos coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video / review video. Take care, and peace out.